Good morning, everyone. I'm Derek. This is There Will Be Cars. And if you're anything like me, you've been waiting patiently for the newest Shelby GT500 Mustang. It's certainly been a while. The last one that was out was the 2013 to 2014 model. So we've had to wait until now, the 2020 model year, to get one. I had no idea I was going to get to test one this soon, but here it is. All right, now let's see how the GT500 is out on the road. Given my time with this car, it's proven to be very livable and very comfortable. And I know that sounds crazy for a $80,000 760 horsepower Mustang, but it's true. Right after Ford had it delivered to my house, I hopped in and I drove all the way from Austin to Midlothian, which is a 3 or so hour drive. I thought, well, this is gonna be, there's a chance it's going to be very stiff, very harsh, very loud. I was only partially right. I mean, the suspension, obviously, even in normal mode, there's a firmness to it because it's a high-performance sports car, which makes sense. But it also, in a lot of ways was surprisingly, I want to say, supple. I'd go over joints in the highway or rough stretches of pavement, and I could feel the stiffness, but I didn't feel like the car was punishing me. It wasn't uncomfortable, it wasn't jarring, it wasn't anything like that. And the exhaust in normal mode was pretty subdued. I mean, you could hear it when you got on it, but that's one of the biggest differences between this and the top of the line high performance Challenger, the Hellcat Red Eye. That car could be almost deafening at certain speeds. Because it would fill the cabin with exhaust noise, and then you get just as much blower whine in the Challenger or Hellcat Red Eye. This car, you hear just a little sound from the supercharger, but the rest is exhaust. I've been fortunate enough to drive 11 different versions of the S550 Mustang since 2015. 2015 5.0 with the 6-speed automatic, 6-speed convertible, various EcoBoosts, California Special, the Bullet, Performance Pack Level 1 and Level 2. And I say that to just give you context, because I love the GTs, but one thing that I've come away thinking after I've driven those is that the steering is very heavy, which makes sense because those are hairy-chested, high-performance V8 cars. So I get that. It kind of fits the personality. In this car, I don't get that same sensation. This feels a little lighter, a little more organic, a little more natural. So in a lot of BMW and Mercedes vehicles, they insulate them against noise so well, they make them ride so smoothly, they're so refined. So you can be doing 80 and you think you're doing 60. The speed surprises you. You're just sailing along and then you happen to look down at the speedometer and you're like, oh crap, I'm doing like 20 over the limit. This car has that. You don't really even have to get on it like aggressively, like with the goal of like, oh yeah, I'm just going to open this car up and I'm going to get up to the speed. You don't even have to do that. You can just apply a moderate amount of throttle, enjoy the sound, and then before you know it, boom, you're doing 20 over. It's so it's so strange because, you know, it's a savage, powerful, loud V8 engine, but the way it gets you up to speed and beyond whatever speed you had in mind is really stealth. Well, you're probably wondering what this new 7-speed dual-clutch transmission is like. It's got this dial, which you probably recognize from newer Ford vehicles like the Fusion, the Expedition. Now it's in the Mustang. I appreciate Ford's dedication to performance and the fact that it's embracing newer technologies. And so far, this transmission has been very quick when I need it to be. Now, it can be a little clunky around town here and there, but like I said, I appreciate Ford embracing maximum performance, and, you know, shift times are a part of that, especially at the track. Now, for all of its performance, I will say, you know, I do miss being able to row my own gears in a V8 Mustang, but the reality is that's just not an option. The steering in a straight line is very solid, very stable. It almost reminds me of like an AMG Mercedes. You know, it's rock solid. Tires don't tramline, they don't follow imperfections in the pavement or anything like that. And even in sport mode, the ride quality is pretty smooth. I mean, it's stiff obviously, but it's not jarring. The more I drive this car, the more I like it. And that's not necessarily true for all cars in my experience. You know, there's some, you know, I enjoy them, you know, but it kind of flatlines. But the more miles I put on this car, the more I like it. The exhaust, even in sport mode, it doesn't drone, it doesn't boom, you know, it's never uncomfortable. The sort of downside to that is I do wish at times it was even more vocal than it is. But it's refined, you know, it doesn't become a nuisance. And the curves, you know, the steering's got a nice weight to it, but it doesn't feel artificially heavy. It doesn't feel leaden. Now, one thing, you probably notice it too, is you do get quite a bit of road noise coming up from the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. You would think every performance car on a dry, straight road would be able to just put its power down without a problem, but that hasn't always been my experience. And it's fun, you know, the first few times, but then after a while you're like, well, I really want to, you know, get going without having to worry about that. And this car, you know, every pull I've done in it, with the exception of one, but that was, you know, the road surface was changing. But yeah, every other pull I've done in this car, never had to worry about the back end breaking loose. Let's try out the manual mode. So I'll just push this button in the middle here, put it in full manual, and then right there you can see it's really cool. It not only tells you which gear, but it shows the paddles, so you know you have another reminder of just which transmission mode you're in. All right. There's really no mistaking this car for anything other than a Shelby. You've got the Cobra badges, especially the one up front. You got them on the side, you got them on the rear deck lid. And then all of these openings to draw in air. With all the extra power, generates a lot of heat, so they want to make sure this thing's not cooking itself. This set of heat extractor vents is another major part of keeping the Shelby GT500 cool. Like many Shelbys, it's got the racing stripes, and then you've got these hood pins. First, like with any other car, You gotta go inside and pop the hood, then push these down. The hood's on struts, so you don't have to worry about a prop bar. And there it is. That's the Predator V8, so it's got the same displacement as the Shelby GT350 engine, but there are some obvious changes. First one being, obviously, the blower on top. Pumps the output up to 760 horsepower, 625 pound-feet of torque. The other being that this has a cross-plane crank instead of a flat-plane crank. Shout out to Evan Bradley for hand-building this with pride. And I really love how they put this brace in there. Ford offers two major performance packages on the GT500. One is the carbon fiber track pack, which I'm sure you've seen a lot of online. And that's got things like the rear seat delete, carbon fiber rear wing that's adjustable, and then carbon fiber wheels. This GT500 that I'm testing has the other major performance package that Ford offers, and that is the handling pack. One half of the handling pack are these splitter wickers and this gurney flap. That sits on top of what Ford calls a swing, and that is a combination of a wing and a spoiler. If you happen to get a GT500 set up like this, you better like this look because you're going to see a lot of it from the driver's seat. So as you can imagine, Ford doesn't put the GT500 in sensible walking shoes. It wears running shoes. Up front, you've got Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, 305/30, and you get these huge Brembo brakes behind those. They're roughly 16 inches up front. So just to give you a little perspective, a long time ago, one of my first cars was an Acura Integra sedan. The wheels on that, if I remember correctly, were 14 inches. Of course, the sheer size of these brakes is an attention getter, but they're also remarkable because they work so well. They're easy to modulate, they don't snatch, they don't grab, they're not herky-jerky or erratic. I mean, they're consistent all the way through, very effective, very confidence-inspiring, very well-tuned. You got these really gnarly-looking side skirts. In the back here, the tires are staggered width, so they're 315/30, and you've got 14-inch rotors. Back here are two of my favorite features on this car. Of course, the Cobra badge. That always looks cool. And then down here, you've got these huge exhaust finishers. They really finish the look of this car. Speaking of those, let's listen to how they sound. One thing I noticed right off the bat is that this GT500's got different bright work than I'm used to seeing in Mustangs. It's got this kind of bronzed look to it. That's very unexpected. Got your lighting controls there, 12-inch configurable display. Another Cobra logo in the middle, center stripe at 12 o'clock. And this particular car has another option on it, these optional Recaro seats. They not only look cool, but they've been very supportive without being uncomfortable. I mean, you got to get over this side bolster, but once I'm in the seats, yeah, they're supportive and grippy without making me feel like I'm being squeezed to death. Right here, you've got a lot of the switchgear that you're familiar with, your volume controls, your menu controls right here. And then this button, another Cobra logo, you hit that, you enter the Cobra menu. Then go into the track apps, very handy in a car like this. So you've got line lock, Can't exactly use that out here, but I've used it in the Mustang GT before. A lot of fun if you can find the right spot to use it. Launch control. You can set the RPM for that. Acceleration timer. I imagine a lot of people that get these cars use this one. And even brake performance, so that's pretty neat. Then lap timer, of course. You can even set your shift points. And just in case you're one of the 2 people out there wondering what kind of fuel economy the GT500 gets, let's take a look. All right, 16.6 over the course of nearly 575 miles. I gotta be honest with you, this is doing better than I thought it would. Right here, you can change the suspension settings. And right here, you can change the steering. You've got a pair of auxiliary gauges for the oil pressure and oil temp. Ford offers these in other Mustangs, of course, but they definitely look at home in the GT500. And Ford really likes putting plaques in the Mustang, and this car definitely deserves one. So there you go, right there. You got the Cobra logo again. Never get tired of seeing that. GT500, and they even give you the chassis number. Then right here, you can change the exhaust mode, turn off traction control. Then you got your HVAC controls above there. Then you got Sync 3 on an 8-inch display. I'd like to thank all of you for watching my time with the Shelby GT500. If you haven't already, please go ahead and like this video. And if you're not a subscriber to There Will Be Cars, I would really appreciate it if you would become one. I'm always bringing new things to this channel, and I hope you're here to see it. Thanks.